sitting here while Andrew was speaking, and I said a little prayer of thanks for such a vigorous argument on our side of the debate. And I am very grateful to Kim for mentioning that piece I wrote, because I did indeed argue that Donald Trump could be great for our democracy. He could be great for our democracy because he is rallying so many Americans to political action to oppose the very abuses that Andrew opposed. And I ask you tonight to take that 68% and make it 80%, to send a signal to those Americans who know the threat that Donald Trump poses to our democracy, that they have friends north of the border. I want to say it's an honor to be... I want to say it's a great honor to be a guest on this side of the longest undefended border in the world. May it stay that way. May there be no walls between the United States and Canada. We have stood with each other, but perhaps more importantly, we have learned from each other. Everyone wants a neighbor who embodies decency, and we Americans are very lucky to have you. And as you can tell from my last name, my family headed south from Quebec. Alors, il faut dire merci à vous tous. And I do want to salute the courage of our opponents to show up tonight after the week that Donald Trump has had. They clearly have a commitment to the idea that the show must go on. This is a week in which Donald Trump challenged the very idea of a free press. It bothered him that people can write whatever they want, which sounds like the First Amendment to me. He threatened a network he didn't like with removing their license, which had two problems with it. One is networks aren't licensed in the first place, and the other is that the threat of using presidential power against people you disagree with is not the mark of a Democrat, but of an autocrat. And then he told our fellow citizens in Puerto Rico that he might just walk away and allow them to suffer. So yes, I salute the bravery of our opponents here, but I want to point out that throughout this debate, they will cling to one piece of this resolution like a life raft. They will talk about all the problems the United States has had for 5, 10, 20, or 30 years. And Andrew and I will not for a moment dispute that the United States had problems before Donald Trump and will have some after him. They will try to blame, as Kim just did, everything that's wrong on liberals or on Barack Obama or on Hillary Clinton. They will do everything in their power to avoid the central issue, because deep down, I think they know that so much that Donald Trump says and does is indefensible. They will blame everyone else for a crisis that Donald Trump has created. We are talking about the danger of autocracy. We did not talk about that under George W. Bush or Barack Obama. Yes, we are talking about the collapse of the norms of democracy. We did not talk about that before Donald Trump. We are talking about, as Andrew outlined, persistent lying. We did not talk about this before Donald Trump. And yes, we are talking about what Senator Bob Corker, an early Trump supporter of a president in need of an adult daycare center. This is a crisis for our democracy. We have never had a president who, from his very first day in office, plainly showed that he had no business being president. Andrew has spoken eloquently about President Trump's threats to our liberty. I want to just talk briefly about norms. Norms are the things that you need people to live by because you cannot write rules for everything. We could start with the most basic norm, which is truth-telling. Daniel Dale, the great reporter for the Toronto Star, just reported today that President Trump, and I quote him, got a new personal record for the most false claims in a week. That's an amazing record. By Daniel Dale's count, he clocked in at 40. And those 1,300 lies or misleading statements that Andrew described amounted to 5 statements a day. That is quite a record. Please do not let our opponents in this debate hold democracy to a lower standard. I know they hold democracy to a higher standard, and I hope we can persuade even them tonight that it is their job to stand up for our democratic life. Trump arouses anger, but he also arouses fear. Fear about whether our institutions can survive a leader who praises strong men abroad and sees them as a model for bold leadership. The United States has not faced as grave a threat to its democratic values and its Republican institutions for many decades. Donald Trump is to blame. Thank you.